Before 10. 10 more seconds until 10.
I know. All right, you ready?
Yep.
All right, 3. AV flex, hotkey. Okay, A2. Oh, I didn't do finance.
Transparent, truthful, biased.
It is April 4th, 2025. I'm Edvardy Jackson.
And I'm Ashton Renna.
Here's what's making news this hour. The comedian Russell Brand has just been charged with rape. That now just coming into our newsroom.
South Korea's president has had his impeachment upheld over his unlawful declaration of martial law last year.
President Trump has dismissed General Timothy Hague, head of National Security Agency and U.S. Cyber Command.
The Department of Justice says they're going to seek the death penalty for Luigi Mangione for the death of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson.
And Villa Maria has opened the Scott Beeler Center for Academic Excellence. Hope your break was well rested. Ours was 54 degrees and cloudy in Buffalo, feeling like 48. Your news continues next in 60 seconds. Good afternoon. Edvardy Jackson from the World Telegram News. The investigative post is reporting that families, including some from Western New York, have been detained at the Canadian border. Advocates against the lack of transparency at the border are urging officials to do something about it. This comes as President Trump issued executive orders to target illegal migration and the smuggling of illegal drugs, saying drugs like fentanyl and counterfeit prescription drugs were being funneled into the country at a loss of $4.4 billion. Governor Hochul denounced the arresting of children and families, but added that she believed violent criminals and gang members should be deported in a statement to WKBW Channel 7 News. The World Telegram News reached out to the mayor's office to get his thoughts about this and are awaiting a response. We'll have the latest on the ICE crackdown during this afternoon's Clocking Crime Report.
And good afternoon, I'm Ashton Renner. Demolition of the bowling lanes on Elmwood has begun. The Volker Bowling Alley opened in 1982 as a hotel, before being converted into a bowling alley in the 40s. After the pandemic, the bowling alley was closed, but it never reopened after it fell into despair in recent years. A court issued a demolition order in 2023 and in 2024. The City Planning Board approved a redevelopment of the site that would turn the building into apartments and commercial space.
Mayor Scanlon was at Villa Maria yesterday for the grand opening of the Scott Beeler Center for Academic Excellence. This was meant for building a positive and modern environment for studying. The project was funded in part through a gift from the Scott Beeler Foundation. Other donors include M&T Bank and Erie County.
Bulk trash collection has started for the city of Buffalo. If you have a lot of trash, make sure you place it outside on the day for a specific area. Fillmore, April 6th. Niagara, April 13th. Maston, April 27th. Lovejoy, May 4th. South, May 18th. We'll have more on these dates in future broadcasts and online anytime at theworldtelegramnews.com.
That is theworldtelegram.com. Erie County legislator John Bargnesi was in Tonawanda where he donated 7 AEDs to their police department. He posted about his visit to Facebook saying, "I'm proud to continue my effort to get this life-saving technology into our community. With this donation, we've now distributed nearly 60 AEDs across Erie County, helping keep our neighborhoods safer." Tonawanda Mayor White thanked him, saying, quote, "This was a great day for the city of Tonawanda."
Now let's clock your traffic in transit. Here's a Vardy.
Now here's the traffic and transit report. Metro Rail is running single track between University Station and Humboldt Hospital. All trains to University will be closed at University, LaSalle, and Amherst Street stations. Also on rail, we must remind you that the station on Church Street is still under construction. Now here's a look at the buses. All inbound 18 buses are being rerouted near Louisiana Street for construction. It's set to end on April 20th. There's also construction on the Cromwell Avenue Bridge for Route 23, meaning all 23 buses are being temporarily rerouted. With your traffic and transit report, I'm Vardy Jackson.
Our last broadcast was before break, so here's what you missed. Mayor Scanlon gave his first State of the City speech, saying the best days of Buffalo are to come. In his speech, he emphasized the importance of unity. The speech covered various areas of concern, including the deficit at Buffalo Public Schools, the city's response to snow and potholes, and more. We'll have more about this later in the broadcast.
G-Eazy is coming to Buffalo on Sunday afternoon. It all goes down in Buffalo Riverworks from 7 p.m. to 11:30 p.m. Kids under 16 must have an adult. Tickets start at $39.50, and you can buy them online at mnmpresents.com.
Before break, Buffalo Public Schools announced that there are in a nearly $74 million deficit, but have plans to cover it in a proposed budget, who the chief financial officer says won't involve layoffs at this time, according to channel WIVB Channel 4 News. School closings, however, may be on the table.
2 Tonawanda soldiers who fought in the Vietnam War were honored by Mayor White during their regular city council meeting before spring break. Ronald Sadler and James Sarney attended Tonawanda High in the 60s and served in the Army not long after, before dying in battle between 1967 and 1968.
Now, here's the latest in our Crime Watch reporting. You'll fall out of your seat when you hear this. Amherst police say they caught 2 kids after they allegedly stole over $250 worth of Pokemon cards. Announcing the news in their words, they said, quote, 2 juvenile suspects were apprehended. Pikachu's whereabouts remain unknown, end quote. I would make a joke about them using double team, but I doubt that would go over well with my supervisors.
With that said, here's last week's statistics for Amherst. 101 calls for service, 28 arrests, 1 robbery, 1 burglary, and 5 larcenies from cars. Speaking of cars, 2 DWIs, 50 car accidents, and 189 traffic summons are reported.
Some people have sent out emails to me after hearing our coverage and wondered why they categorize robberies and burglaries differently. Apparently, robberies involve taking stuff from somebody through force or threat. Burglary usually involves illegally entering a building with the intent of stealing something. The more you know.
And Crime Stoppers is offering up to $7,500 for any information about Peter Brown, a man who was wanted for allegedly murdering his stepdaughter. Brown is a 6'4" black man, around 250 pounds, has brown hair, and a beard that's slightly graying. Any information can be sent to Crime Stoppers at 716-867-6161 or by submitting a tip by downloading the free Crime Stoppers mobile app.
Now, here's some of the national headlines from our newsroom. Defense Secretary Hagseth was in Yokota, Japan on Sunday amid ongoing criticism about a group chat on Signal, a privacy-focused messaging app, where they mistakenly added a journalist from The Atlantic and talked about upcoming strikes against the Houthis in Yemen. This chat talked about the course of action against the Houthis. Defense Secretary Hagseth provided a timetable of their plans for the next few hours. Hagseth and other members of Trump's cabinet who were present on that Signal chat now faces calls to resign, but Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt defended the existence of the group chat. Oh, and WTN News Adrian Mata now has this report about Cory Booker's speech to on the Senate floor, his filibuster. I forgot that was happening.
I am not going to stop speaking. I'm going to not stop standing. I'm going to go for as long as I'm physically able to go. I've been hearing from people all over my state and indeed all over the nation calling on folks in Congress to do more.
Cory Booker's speech started at 7 p.m. Eastern Time and lasted until just after 8 p.m. the next evening. He said the basis behind the speech was Senate votes.
Oh, actually, that was in the script. I just didn't read it properly.
To keep the clock running, he said comments and questions from other senators, including Minority Leader Chuck Schumer, Senator Elizabeth
Okay, we're picking up B-17.
Senator Booker isn't new to putting his own body at risk.
Want me to go first?
Yeah. 'Cause that's on me. I that was supposed to say you, and then on top of it, it threw me off because, yeah.
I just want to tell you, question, do you know you have just broken the record? Do you know how proud this caucus is?
Multiple news outlets are reporting that President Trump will be cutting Elon Musk's role in government short by a few months. Political reporter Rachel Bade reports that this comes as many members of the Trump administration are frustrated and see Musk as a political liability.
Musk was granted the role of senior advisor to the president and special government employee when President Trump was inaugurated. His special government employee status as the head of Doge had a term limit of 130 days in that role, and it would expire in June. Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt responded to the Political article, saying that President Trump and Elon Musk said this a while ago. Elon Musk posted the statement, dismissing the story as fake news. And right now in Buffalo, cloudy at 52 degrees, going down to the 40s tonight. World Telegram News Time, 4:21.
Don't live in Buffalo but want to listen to WBNY? No worries. Download the Radio FX app and listen to us anytime, anywhere.
All right, we have a two-minute break. Not going too bad, actually.
Yeah, doing pretty well so far.
This is an interesting angle I got here on the live stream. I'll pick up C1.
Are all the mics high enough?
Huh?
Are all the mics good enough? Like the audio, I mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
What, did you not hear yourself?
No,
Did you hear yourself?
I don't think so, no.
Your mic was, yeah, your mic is up.
Then I guess I was fine. I don't know.
Most of us like to be out in the sun. That's why sunscreen and other safety measures are key to protecting your skin from aging and cancer. The FDA recommends using a sunscreen with a sun protection factor, or SPF, of 15 or higher. Also, look for broad spectrum on the label. That means both harmful ultraviolet A and B rays are blocked. UVA rays
I need some water. I'm dying.
and both cause cancer.
While we're on break, I'll post the link to the live stream.
80% of UV rays still get through the haze. Only use sunscreen at the beach? Nope. Anytime you're outside, UV rays attack the skin, so you need protection.
This is a lengthy ad.
Sunscreen every 2 hours.
Yeah.
Remember, SPF plus broad spectrum equals healthy fun in the sun. Visit www.fda.gov/sunscreen for more information. A message from the U.S. Food and Drug Administration.
Now your world news recap with news and context from areas across the country and around the world. World Telegram News Time now is 4:24.
In a few moments, I will sign an executive order to begin eliminating the Federal Department of Education once and for all.
President Trump signed the executive order in March of 2025, setting a plan in motion to slowly wind down and dismantle the Department of Ed, but keep some of its core functions alive. This comes after Linda McMahon, its leader, sent out a memo titled Our Department's Final Mission, which was posted on the DOE's website. McMahon insinuated that the education system had been corrupted by ideology, saying that this decision was meant to give parents the ability to choose over their child's education and give college students an ideologically independent education. President Trump explained what that would look like in a video conference last week.
Well, I think that California is going to be tougher because they're doing badly on everything they do. You know, everything they touch turns bad. So a place like California would be tougher for education. But what I would see with California is you'd have a Los Angeles department, and you'd have Riverside. You'd go to various places, and I think you'd have some great areas in California, and then you'd have some, like everything else, it doesn't work so well. But ultimately, I think it would be very successful. I think in New York, as an example, you'd go to Long Island, Westchester, you may have Nassau County, Queens County. You break it up in certain ways so they'd have maybe 5 departments. You know, because of the size, they'd have 5 departments instead of 1.
Some people who are against this move say that this could lead to mass miseducation instead. The Department of Education was founded in 1979 under former President Carter to improve equal access to education by cooperating with states, local school systems, and other public and private institutions. Their goal was also to make federal education systems more financially and administratively efficient. This isn't the first time a president has done this. President Andrew Johnson created the first DOE in 1867, but by the next year it was demoted because of concern that the agency had too much control over local schools. McMahon responded to the news saying, "Closing the department does not mean cutting off funds for those who depend on them. We will continue to support K-12 students, students with special needs, college student borrowers, and others that rely on essential programs. We're going to follow the law and eliminate bureaucracy responsibly, but working through Congress to ensure a lawful and orderly transition." President Trump pledged to do this in 2023. Take a listen to this video posted on social media.
The United States spends more money on education than any other country in the world, and yet we get the worst outcomes. We're at the bottom of every list. In total, American society pours more than $1 trillion a year into public education systems. But instead of being at the top of the list, we are literally right smack, guess what, at the bottom. Rather than indoctrinating young people with inappropriate racial, sexual, and political material, which is what we're doing now, our schools must be totally refocused to prepare our children to succeed in the world of work and in life and the world of keeping our country strong. And one other thing I'll be doing very early in the administration is closing up the Department of Education in Washington, D.C., and sending all education and education work and needs back to the states. We want them to run the education of our children because they'll do a much better job of it. You can't do worse. We spend more money per pupil by 3 times than any other nation, and yet we're absolutely at the bottom. We're one of the worst. So you can't do worse. We're going to end education coming out of Washington, D.C. We're going to close it up, all those buildings all over the place, and you have people that in many cases hate our children. We're going to send it all back to the states.
While Trump claimed that over $1 trillion had been going into the Department of Education, the budget was actually a lot less. So let's dig into that. In 2023 and 2024, funding for the Department of Ed dropped from $637 billion in 2022 to $241 billion in 2024. That was during President Biden's term. Of that money, the agency planned to spend 94% of that, with $229 billion worth of obligations. 49% of that went to awards, with financial aid being responsible for the bulk of that money. If we look at how that department money was distributed, federal student aid was under budget by $8 billion, spending $171 billion out of their budget. That's a little over 71%. The Office of Elementary and Secondary Education was under budget by $1 billion in 2024, and so was the Office of Post-Secondary Education. With that said, spending on the Department of Education did increase significantly, with $152 billion spent in 2017, going down to $113 billion in 2018, and spiking to $497 billion in 2021. Still, this is only half of the $1 trillion amount cited by President Trump. While President Trump insisted that critical systems will not be affected, specifically as it pertains to student loans, if the Department of Education closes, who will be responsible? Currently, there's speculation about whether that responsibility will transfer to the Treasury, but there's no formal policy as of yet. Reporting in Buffalo, New York, I'm Vardy Jackson with the World Telegram News.
Now, the World News Recap from the World Telegram News.
If it's Friday, it's News Audio. I'm Vardy Jackson, and here's what's making news around the world right now. A magnitude 7 earthquake has left over 3,000 dead in Myanmar. The quake started just after noon there. It happened along the Sagaing Fault. Myanmar and Thailand are situated on or near the fault, which is the boundary where the India, Eurasia, Burma, and Sunda plates meet. A local news source in Myanmar called the People's Spring says that all 40 mosques in Mandalay, its second largest city, were damaged. Further, 10 of them collapsed. Altogether, the damage resulted in the deaths of over 400 Muslims. In other news, Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu is ramping up its presence in the Gaza Strip, posting on X, "We are not taking our foot off the gas. We will achieve the war goals. The kidnapped are our top priority." This comes amid reports that Israel is going to begin seizing territory along the Gaza Strip. The IDF launched airstrikes in the Gaza Strip on March 17th after plans to implement Phase 2 of the ceasefire talks fell through. The ceasefire between Israel and Hamas went into effect just days before the end of President Biden's term. It was initially meant to roll out in 3 phases, the first of which expired on March 1st. The two countries held conversations facilitated by the US that would determine if and how they would enter Phase 2, but neither party came to an agreement. The US proposed an extension to Phase 1 of the ceasefire, but Hamas rejected that. The operation to resume strikes on the Gaza Strip resumed under the codename Operation Might and Sword, with help from the United States. So far, at least over 1,000 have been killed, with over 2,000 injured. In total, multiple sources are reporting a death toll of over 70,000 in the Gaza Strip since 2023. Senator Bernie Sanders is amongst Senate members against the mass strikes. They held a vote at the Senate to block the sale of bombs to Israel. On the Senate floor, here's some of what Bernie Sanders had to say.
Mr. President, I trust that every American, and certainly every member of the Senate, understands that Hamas, a terrorist organization, began this terrible war with its barbaric October 7th, 2023 attack on Israel, which killed 1,200 innocent people and took 250 hostages. The International Criminal Court was correct in indicting the leaders of Hamas as war criminals for those atrocities. Clearly, Israel had the right to defend itself against Hamas. But most Americans also understand that while Israel had a right to wage war against Hamas, it did not and does not have the right to wage war against the entire Palestinian population.
And in related news, Netanyahu made headlines yesterday for meeting with Hungary's Prime Minister Viktor Orban. For context, the International Criminal Court issued a warrant for Netanyahu's arrest, but Hungary refused to comply and decided to withdraw from the organization. In a speech with Netanyahu by his side, he said that the court had become a political tribunal and did not act impartially towards Israel. He elaborated in a post on X, calling the allegations of war crimes a witch hunt, adding, quote, "We will not support a court that targets democracies like Israel for political gain. Hungary defends the rule of law. Hungary stands with Israel." Thanking Hungary, Netanyahu posted, Hungary stood by Israel in Hamas' murderous attack, and today Hungary stands by Israel in the attack on the hypocrisy of the International Criminal Court in The Hague. More news continues next after this break, but first your WTN News Fast Track Weather Forecast. At Vardy Jackson, World Telegram News, Buffalo.
Continue getting the latest from the World Telegram News on demand by listening to WTN News Audio wherever you get your podcasts.
That's what you call a smooth take.
Good job, Vardy.
I was planning on, for this live stream, I was planning on just having my mic muted when the stuff is playing. But I might just keep it on, just for the sake of it, because it's a lot to manage both at the same time.
Are we gonna go eat after this, or we're gonna get Christian and then go eat?
Did I not staple these papers? What the heck? Let's just go eat, because I'm kind of hungry. I haven't eaten all day. I've been up since earlier doing this news. Do I not have the rundown? That is kind of creepy. I did the 2-minute break a little early, so instead of the break, go straight to D1, okay? After I do the weather.
D1?
D1. Right now, mostly sunny and 56 degrees. Tonight, low in the 40s with rain continuing overnight into tomorrow. Tomorrow with rain on and off with highs into the low 60s with showers going into Sunday. On Sunday, mostly cloudy in the morning and down to the lower 40s, dipping down to the 20s. The rain will continue throughout the day. We'll have more on your Fast Track 7-day forecast after this message. The first action.
The U.S. is the lowest it's been on the World Happiness Report this year. When the index started counting the United States, we were at 11th place.
Our spot on the World Happiness Report's list have been declining since then, being at 15th in 2014, 18th in 2017, 19th in 2020, dropping at 23rd in 2023, and sitting at 24th in 2024. Finland, Denmark, and Iceland have been in the top 4 since 2020 and have been the top 3 since 2022. Now we have a special report about what's happening in Canada with their new Prime Minister, Mark Carney, and we'll have that for you right now. A few weeks ago, Canada's new Prime Minister, Mark Carney, was sworn in after Justin Trudeau resigned earlier this year, amid internal infighting within the Liberal Party of Canada. The LPC is the majority party within the House of Commons in Canada. This also came following a wave of resignations within the Trudeau cabinet last year.
And the fact is, despite best efforts to work through it, Parliament has been paralyzed for months after what has been the longest session of a minority parliament in Canadian history. I intend to resign as party leader, as Prime Minister, after the party selects its next leader through a robust, nationwide, competitive process. Last night, I asked the President of the Liberal Party to begin that process. This country deserves a real choice in the next election, and it has become clear to me that if I'm having to fight internal battles, I cannot be the best option in that election.
That was former Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. Prime Minister Carney's address was less somber. The 4-minute speech briefly covered his approach to policy as he enters office in the middle of a trade war with the United States.
Canada's new government is changing how we work so we can deliver better results faster to all Canadians. We have new ministers with new ideas, ready to respond to new threats and to seize new opportunities. Canada's new government is focused on the things that matter most to Canadians: growing more higher-paying jobs, improving affordability, and making Canada more secure. Canada's new government will be action-oriented, driven by a smaller but highly experienced team made to meet the moment we are in. Our leaner cabinet will focus on 2 priorities in particular. First, protecting Canadian workers and their families in the face of unjustified foreign trade actions. And second, growing this great country by putting more money in Canadians' pockets, by ensuring that government spends less so Canada can invest more, by building millions of homes, by making Canada a superpower in both conventional and clean energies, by creating new trade corridors with reliable partners, and by forging one Canadian economy out of 13.
The trade war put both his government against the United States government. Here's some comments he made recently that gained attention.
The old relationship we had with the United States, based on deepening integration of our economies and tight security and military cooperation, is over. President Trump again imposed unjustified tariffs on our nation in violation of our existing trade agreements. We will respond forcefully. Nothing is off the table to defend our workers and our country.
President Trump is in the process of trying to fundamentally restructure the U.S. economy, and that means that our economy here needs to change dramatically as well. And as I made clear to President Trump in our call last week, I will reject all attempts to weaken Canada, all attempts to wear us down, to break us down, so that America can own us. That will never, ever happen.
And today I'm announcing that the Government of Canada will be responding by matching the U.S. approach, with 25% tariffs on all vehicles imported from the United States that are not compliant with CUSMA, our North American Free Trade Agreement. Canada must be looking elsewhere to expand our trade, to build our economy, and to protect our sovereignty. Canada is ready to take a leadership role in building a coalition of like-minded countries who share our values. We believe in international cooperation. We believe in the free and open exchange of goods, services, and ideas. And if the United States no longer wants to lead, Canada will.
Edvardy Jackson, WTN News.
2 men have been found guilty after accepting a bounty to kill. Masa Alianhad, an Iranian-American journalist who covered Iran's politics and rights violations online after escaping Iran in 2009. The 2 say they were hired by the Russian mob to kill her after accepting a plea deal.
A new Texas bill is targeting furries. The act is called the Forbidding Unlawful Representation of Role-Playing in Education, or Furries Act, and would ban people from wearing tails, leashes, collars, animal ears, or making animal noises. This does not apply to mascots, Halloween costumes, or theater performances, but if passed, students will be banned from encouraging and promoting non-human behavior, according to the bill.
Now we continue our coverage of immigration in America. On April 1st, Buffalo agents approached an alleged illegal migrant from Honduras who assaulted one of them and tried to run away. He's being processed for deportation with felony charges now. A similar case happened in Fulton and Niagara Falls, where they faced several migrants in New York. With that said, new reporting has revealed that this crackdown on unauthorized entry has created some other consequences.
Once again, to reiterate our headline from the top of the hour, reporting from the investigative post says that families, including some from Western New York, have been detained at the Canadian border. Advocates against the lack of transparency at the border are urging officials to do something about it. This comes as President Trump issues executive orders to target illegal migration and the smuggling of illegal or counterfeit drugs.
President Trump says drugs like fentanyl and counterfeit prescription drugs were being funneled into the country at a loss of $4.4 billion.
Governor Hochul announced the arresting of children and families, but added that she believed that violent criminals and gang members should be deported in a statement to WKBW Channel 7 News. The World Telegram News reached out to the mayor's office to get his thoughts about this and are awaiting a response. The World Telegram News has learned that another protest is happening at City Hall tomorrow. Buffalo United March and Rally is gathering people to protest what the group describes as, quote, illegal, immoral, and or foolhardy acts by the Trump administration. This is one of many demonstrations being held across the country and in select countries around the world called Hands Off. We'll be there covering the event and expect a full report on theworldtelegram.com and streaming on this station during the next edition of the World Telegram News Radio. Right now, we are going to look at the World Telegram Fast Track Weather Forecast. Right now, mostly sunny and 56 degrees. Tonight, lows in the 40s. Overnight tomorrow. Tomorrow, it will rain on and off with highs in the low 60s. Showers rain Sunday. Sunday, mostly cloudy in the morning. Dipping down into the 20s, the rain will continue. Monday will be partly sunny with a 30% chance of rain and snow, highs in the mid 40s. Monday night, expect mostly cloudy skies with a 50% chance of snow and rain, lows in the mid 20s. Tuesday will be partly sunny with a 40% chance of snow and highs in the lower 30s. Wednesday brings sunshine with highs in the lower 40s and low around 30. Thursday will be partly sunny with 50% chance of rain and highs in the lower 40s. With the World Telegram News Fast Track Weather Forecast, I'm
Connecting Western New York to the world. We are the World Telegram News Radio.
Coming up next, we'll have more on the latest in news, sports, entertainment, and finance. Plus, the WTN News Fast Track Weather Forecast, all that just after the news.
More people are listening to our program than ever. Give us a try online at any time at theworldtelegram.com. World Telegram News Time at the tone, 4:47.
Moving at the speed of your news. This is the World Telegram News Radio on 91.3 FM.
It's April 4th, 2025. I'm Edvardy Jackson.
And I'm Asher Renna. Here's what we are following. South Korea's president has had his impeachment upheld over his unlawful declaration of martial law last year.
President Trump has dismissed General Timothy Hague, head of the National Security Agency and U.S. Cyber Command.
The Department of Justice says they're going to seek the death penalty for Luigi Mangione for the death of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson.
And the comedian Russell Brand has been charged with rape. Your weekly review on the news that matters to you. 52 degrees and cloudy in Buffalo, feeling like 48. Is it just me or does the paper feel... Oh, you don't have the paper. The paper feels very sticky.
Your news continues next in 60 seconds.
Yo, this is going really well. Holy crap. Okay.
Is the audio okay?
Yeah. I'm getting levels on here and I'm getting levels on the stream. I don't know if I don't know if it's working though. Oh well.
We'll figure it out. This is our first time doing something like this. Sorry for the live stream.
Yeah, with the live stream. I might just do I don't know how I'm gonna do this. Because I've been looking into either doing this on Instagram, where more people are following us, or doing it on YouTube. But I have all the graphics.
Instagram is probably the better choice, honestly.
It's a better choice, but the only thing is I'm a little concerned about how that's gonna work. Okay, here we go. We are continuing this news hour with a new report coming from the mayor's office. Mayor Scanlon has authorized emergency action at 2 St. Louis Place as the city continues its work to secure abandoned or unsafe buildings. Work will begin in 4 days from today and will target illegal trespassing, overgrowth of plants on the side of the building, and debris. City officials say proceedings to take ownership could take 3 to 6 months.
Mayor Scanlon was at Villa Maria yesterday for the grand opening of the Scott Beeler Center for Academic Excellence, meant for building a positive and modern environment for studying. The project was funded in part through a gift from the Scott Beeler Foundation. Other donors include M&T Bank and Erie County.
Multiple news outlets are reporting that President Trump will be cutting Elon Musk's role in government short by a few months. Political reporter Rachel Bade reports that this comes as many members in the Trump administration are frustrated and see Musk as a political liability. Now, your traffic and transit report with me. I lost. Now here's your traffic and transit report. Metro Rail is running single track between University Station and Humboldt Hospital. Outbound trains to University will be closed at University, LaSalle, and Amherst Street stations. Also on rail, we must remind you that the station on Church Street is still under construction. Now here's a look at the buses. All inbound 18 buses are being rerouted near Louisiana Street for construction. It's set to end on April 20th. There's also construction on the Fillmore Avenue Bridge over Route 33, meaning all 23 buses are being temporarily rerouted. With your traffic and transit report, I'm Edvardy Jackson.
Actually, do E4.
Me E4? Governor Hochul signed 3 gun laws yesterday proposing a $370 million investment to combat gun violence. One of the focuses of the laws will create penalties for using quote-unquote pistol converters, which the governor's office says can be easily attached to semi-automatic pistols to rapid fire with one pull of the trigger. It will also target credit and debit card issuers and force gun dealers to provide information on suicide prevention, gun safety, and child safety at time of the sale.
On the other side of the state, New York City Mayor Eric Adams has had his formal federal corruption case formally dismissed at the direction of the Department of Justice. Here's a special report. On the other side of the state, New York City Mayor Eric Adams has had his federal corruption case formally dismissed at the direction of the Department of Justice. Eric Adams spoke outside Gracie Mansion.
My fellow New Yorkers, today finally marks the end of this chapter. The judge has dismissed it with prejudice, making it clear that it never can be brought back.
I'll take finance just because it's long.
Let me be clear. As I've said all along, this case should have never been brought. And I did nothing wrong. I'm now happy that our city can finally close the book on this and focus solely on the future of our great city.
Since then, Adams announced that he will be running for election as an independent. However, this comes as confidence in his government is at an all-time low. According to Quinnipiac University, it's at 20%.
Although I am still a Democrat, I am announcing that I will forego the Democratic primary for mayor and appeal directly to all New Yorkers as an independent candidate in the general election. I firmly believe that this city is better served by truly independent leadership, not leaders pulled at by the extremists on the far left or the far right, but instead those rooted in the common middle, the place where the vast majority of New Yorkers are firmly planted.
Edvardy Jackson, World Telegram News. Now here's our finance report. President Trump called Wednesday Liberation Day for Americans, but it might have ended up becoming liberation for stock prices instead. The Dow Jones Industrial Average took a free fall over the past 2 days. It dropped by around 3,000 points, knocking out almost a year of progress as investors panic about incoming tariffs. Some developing news that came into our news just a little while ago was GameStop regarding the entire Nintendo Switch 2. Yeah. Pre-orders are being paused because they're needing to assess what type of effect that tariffs will have. So now let's look into that. The point of these tariffs are to encourage domestic manufacturing by making importing foreign goods too expensive to be sustainable for companies like automakers and tech companies. Another idea is that the money from these tariffs could be used to offset and eat away at our national debt. There's levels to the tariffs. First, there's a universal tariff that goes into effect tomorrow. This 10% tariff will affect all imports entering the United States. Then there's reciprocal tariffs, and those will affect 60 countries across the world. China faces a 34% tariff, Europe 20%, and Japan 24%. The rates are determined based on each country's trade surplus. Today, Apple is down, Amazon is down, Samsung is down, Microsoft is down, Nvidia is down, Procter & Gamble is down, Coca-Cola is down, and Johnson & Johnson is down. From the World Telegram News Business Center, I'm Edvardy Jackson. Now, Adrian Mata has a special entertainment report, and here it is right now.
They say it's not good to be on your phone before bed. But it is good to watch a bunch of comedians compete against each other for made-up points.
Such was the premise for CBS's latest experiment in late night, aptly titled After Midnight. Hosted by rising stand-up comedian Taylor Tomlinson, it was a revival of the Comedy Central panel game show At Midnight. Emphasis on was because after 2 seasons on the Tiffany Network, CBS has pulled the plug on the program after initially renewing it for next season. The news was first reported by Hollywood media publications Variety and Deadline. It comes after Tomlinson appeared at a panel during South by Southwest in Austin, Texas just last month, when she touched upon trying to find the right balance between hosting the show and continuing to tour throughout the country as a comedian.
Because again, I love doing stand-up, I love touring. It is like a lot to take on, and hosting any sort of show, late night or otherwise, was like never something that was on my radar, like on my vision board or anything like that. And it just came at a time where I was feeling like, oh man, it would be nice to like see more comedians, because being on the road, you just don't get to see as many comedians as you do when you're coming up and like doing the clubs and all that. And I love that the show like platforms comedians that maybe people haven't heard of. It's like one of those shows that helps introduce you to your new favorite comics, hopefully. And so I just wanted to be a part of that. We usually film 1 show Monday, 1 show Tuesday, and then 2 on Wednesday. That's our long day. The fact that they've been flexible with me is so nice. But yeah, it is like a crazy schedule, and I am doing less stand-up than I was. I'm still doing, like you said, a lot more than maybe a lot of comics are. But like for me, I was on tour 3, if not all weekends a month for years. And so to take this job and to know that I was going to have to scale back a little bit was a very difficult decision for me. And I wasn't sure if it was something I wanted to do or not, because stand-up is the most important thing to me. It's the most rewarding thing. It's the thing that has led to all of these other opportunities.
In a statement released onto Taylor's Instagram story, she expressed she was grateful for the opportunity to host After Midnight, adding that, quote, "It was the experience of a lifetime, and I am so lucky I got the chance to be a part of it. As a touring comic, I never thought I would be able to host a daily show like this, and it's because of the incredible After Midnight team that it was possible for me to do so as long as I did. That said, juggling touring and hosting the show has become unsustainable, and I've made the decision to step away so I can focus on stand-up. The show has pushed me to new limits, taught me